Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. This is the Master Teacher Serene. Today we're going to talk about having children in Japan. So technically the law of Japan says that if you are not married, you shouldn't have children because the process behind it is really tough. So technically once you are not married and if you have a child, the father wouldn't be considered as the father of the child. And even on the birth certificate, they would not put your name. If they put it, they will erase it, or they will kind of highlight it not to be part of the parenting kind of mode. So what you have to go through is that you have to, let's say if the mother does not have documents, or she's like a refugee, or let's say if you really have like permanent stay, it's okay. You can directly, the mother can directly give the child a residency. But if it's not the case, what will happen is the mother has to go and declare the child as a refugee. And once you do that, then you can apply for the mother can give the child the refugee's sort of stay. But you have to do it within 30 days. That's the most difficult part. By the time you give birth in Japan, they give you 30 days to gather all the documents and apply for the child's visa. If not, the child stay would expire, and that will be a big issue. You can even get deported straight with the child because they don't mess with that. And on top of that, the father, for example, if you want to recognize your child or if you want to be part of the family, because in Japan they consider something called they have a name for it. It's like a family book. So you have to be married so that the child can have first of all, you give one name for your wife, one name for you, and I mean the whole family should have one name, the family name, and then the child can get that name. So that's kind of how it works in here. So once you don't have it, it's a little bit of a problem because But as a father, if you want to recognize your child, what will happen first is that you have to go talk to your embassy where you come from. If they have a rule where you can if they can allow you, or the mother's embassy, the mother of the child, if they can allow you to recognize your child, they will issue you some sort of letter that says actually this boy here is the biological father or something of a sort, and then I want him to take responsibility for this child. So once you get that document from your wife's or from your partner's embassy, what you're going to do next is that you go to your local city hall. Then they have a section where you can go and recognize your child. It's more like some sort of adoption. So you go and adopt your child. In some cases, some embassies from your wife, they might ask you for proof that you are the sort of biological father, or they ask you for it. You have to go through some DNA test. They might as well check the blood or you have to prove them something, show that you are in a relationship with the wife. It's kind of a whole lot of mess, and all that should be done within the minimum time. But if you want the child to but back then it's kind of very difficult for the child to have like insurance and all the advantages of kind of staying in here, and it's really tough. So because you only have 30 days, so you have to make sure at least you apply for the child's visa for not to go into expiry. And now you can focus as a father, if you have other documents, now you can focus on trying to correct the mistake if you got a mistake, because honestly, to avoid yourself all this struggle, it's much more easy to get married. And if you get married, the problem might be like if you're new to Japan, to get the witnesses. I believe they will require you to have if you marry with the Japanese law. I'm not sure you have to have witnesses that are married, and like couples, like two couples that are married and stuff like that, because it's a bit difficult to get them. But if you, I think the Japanese law kind of thingy, I think as long as people are resident here in Japan, you can get two witnesses to sign some documents for you and the wife. And you have to get some documents from your country that shows that you haven't been married yet. But that I will get back to that another day. But if you, I believe in most countries, you have to have two witnesses from the husband's side, from the wife's side, and they all have to have their marriage certificate, their resident thingy, passport proof, something like that. And they also, in my country, for example, they require you to have your birth certificate from the witnesses. That's very crazy. So it could be a little problem for you to get married. And some people don't want to get married in a rush. Like it's not because you have a child that you have to get married or something. You can slow down on that and prepare for things. But in Japan, you gotta be married. If you don't, then you go through a whole lot of psychological and emotional stress that you have no idea. Because when it's up to you, you can handle things. But if you have a child or not, like already there, and you cannot really fix things, and if you just make a wrong move, 30 days is very small. When you go through these things, 30 days is very small. Yeah, so that's pretty much for some of you coming to Japan or are in Japan and you have like a family already here, like a partner that is going through something serious, and things could happen and you can have a baby, things will change. The old you that was single is a totally different person. That will be the father or the mother. And the laws to protect the child, to protect yourself, to protect your family, is the game is totally different. So yeah, this country works everywhere, works by law, and it's important to know. What I wanted to share with you today is that in Japan, if you are not married, by the time you give birth to a child, the father is not considered as the father of the child. You have to prove yourself to be the father. So you will kind of adopt your own child. You will kind of recognize your own child. And the process also could be a little bit tedious depending on where you come from, because you need to get some approval from the wife's embassy, the wife's government thingy. And then if they are a bit tricky, they might ask you for a DNA test. They might make it a bit difficult for you, or they might not even be aware of this kind of thingy. So, and some countries don't accept that you can have children without marriage. That's why there are a lot of bastards in this country, Japan, because technically for them it's kind of impossible for people to have children before getting married. And they cannot imagine that. So technically, when you're a bastard, you don't have any right to kind of stay in the country, because they might make you might not have the documents from your sponsors, from your parents, from your guarantors. You might not have the documents because they can't provide anything from you because they are not married. So the whole marriage thing is a real problem here. So I'm just, by the time we were going through this, there were not so many information out there that were really, updated, because this whole Japan thing it kind of updates itself every year, but the core is the same. The core is the same, because back then there was a possibility for you to claim your child before birth, and then at the end of the day you can always manage to get your name signed on the birth certificate. But nowadays apparently it's been going on, if they make a mistake to put your name there, or if you go there by yourself, by the time they kind of realize that you're not married, they will sort of erase your name. They will scratch it or something. They will show that it's kind of a little bit messy, but they don't care. They don't care. And some countries to recognize you, because from the father's child, like from the father's side, if you go to your embassy and say, you know what, this is Japan, but this is my country, this is my child, but they will check your birth certificate and they don't see your name there, or they see your name scratched, they will like, no, we cannot give you like a birth certificate from you, because if you want to give nationality to your child, it's also another problem. So you have to go back to the wife's place for them to kind of give you something that would show that, oh, actually they can allow you to recognize you or adopt your own child. And then you go back to the Japanese system, they kind of give you some sort of amendment, and then you can go back to your embassy to give your child your nationality. So it's really something not easy, and it's not a joke at all. So I would advise you to be careful about starting a family here, especially about having children, because if you're not married, start from there. And getting married here too can be a little struggle. In case you marry from your embassy, but even the Japanese laws, maybe it's best to hire a lawyer before you go through that instead of making mistakes and stuff. Really, this country are all about laws.